Welcome back to the John and Linetia Show. Mr. Cooljoy. I guess the CTA are trying to make it better for people riding the CTA, but it's not helping.
Yes, in many different ways they're trying to make things better. But the number one thing, well, I mean, aside from, horrible buses and bad scheduling and overcrowdedness, etc., really is the crimes that happen on the CTA. And I think recently, at least in the media, a lot of people have pointed out that people are getting their iPhones and snatched, and their smartphones snatched from their hands. I kind of, it's funny. We've all seen people totally mesmerized by whatever they've got on their smartphones, and it's just kind of always amazing to me how people just sort of they get into a zone.
Yeah.
And you're in a public place no matter what, and you've got something in your hand that's $300 to $500. It's probably not a bad idea to make sure you got it secured.
Right, you got your headphones on.
It's sort of like it's sort of like the people who like in the summertime are on the L, and they're sitting by the doors or whatever, and they got gold chains and stuff around their necks. And what happens in the L is you get a snatch and grab. So you get basically people will see that because it's out in the open. People will, the doors are just about to close. The guy snatches the chain, rips it off the neck, and goes out and is free.
Yeah, it seems like it's more and more stories. Not saying this is anything new. Yeah. It's been happening for years. But, now it seems like the media is just getting a hold of it.
Yeah. And a couple of places.
Like the CTA.
The Sun-Times and Channel 7 both kind of did some analysis of crime data, because the CTA doesn't really release a lot of it, which you can't blame them in a way, but and ultimately, even though violent crimes, which would be robbery or murder or assault, are down, other crimes are up, which I think a lot of it really is nonviolent robbery and things like that. And the CTA's basic thing is they're going to put cameras in more places. There's more cameras at rail stations, more cameras on buses and trains, which is kind of well, that's great, because then the cameras will actually photograph the crime happening. Now
right. I mean, they're talking about a lot of cameras, 3,000.
Yeah, well, they want to, but, and it's okay, you want to have a deterrent, but it's not really going to stop somebody who's committing a crime.
What happened to back in, was it 2011, when they said they were going to start training the police officers to help man the CTA? What happened to that?
No, they do. They still have. They've got police, Chicago police, and then even off-duty officers that do patrol, but they don't patrol everything.
Right. Why not? They should.
Well, it's a big system. They can't. There's no way.
Then they should have hired enough people to do that. Well, I never see anyone on the train when I'm on the L. I'm talking about way back in the day when I was on the red line. I didn't see anybody. And now I'm on the brown line. I still don't see any.
I used to never see anybody. The only time I'd see police would be at certain stations.
Right.
And you'd usually see a couple of cops with a dog.
Right, but it seemed like, I know when they first announced it, they said it was going to be a separate force that was going to be trained for the CTA. But it was only 50 officers. That's not enough.
Because the city of Chicago's contribution to the CTA is on-duty police officers. I think they spend $3 million or something a year to station on-duty police officers with the CTA. I don't know. I mean, it's not like you want. I don't want to be on an L car where you got a cop patrolling.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with a cop being in my car.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I see, at least most of the crimes and everything, if you had cops at certain L stops, that would be a thing. There's a couple of websites that collect videos and stuff. And one of the big things is basically saying that most of the crime, or not most of the crime, a lot of it is Red Line toward the south side and Green Line, west side.
Yeah.
Which follows with crime in the city of Chicago.
And this is sad.
And I will say this, when I get on the Red Line, I am frequently appalled by the people on the train. I take the Blue Line, O'Hare branch, so it's the northwest. So I don't come from the west side, but I come from northwest and take that downtown. But if I get on the Red Line, no matter where I get on the Red Line, usually if I got on the Red Line, it'd be going north. Maybe a couple times going south, like if I was going to a Sox game or something. But I'm kind of amazed. It's like a lower caliber of people on the Blue Line. People respect everybody's space. There's a lot more respect. It's quieter. People aren't talking on the phones or screaming at each other. It's cleaner. Definitely, people aren't bringing as much food. Onto the
last
train.
time I checked, they claimed any food on the CTA.
Yeah.
None.
You could bring something to drink, like coffee or something. You can't bring anything to eat. No food. I go on the Red Line and immediately I see these people eating McDonald's
all the time.
All this stuff, and it's what? It's a complete lack of respect. Okay, you're not going to respect any rules. So I'm not in a way surprised. It's not a CTA problem. It's a society problem. These people. That when they're not. It's not like that. Only when they're on the Red Line or the Green Line that they're actually acting like slobs. And jerks. That they're doing it all the time. So.
I wanted to add to what you had said about assault being down. I think they said it was assault and harassment being down on the trains, but we're seeing an increase of like fighting and things like that on the train. Did you happen to see that video that went viral? Yeah, it was like all over. With the guy fighting in the on the Red Line, and the guy gets hit. He gets knocked down, and then somebody comes to his help, and luckily the guy who hit him actually said, pled guilty, and he got like a year of probation or something like that. But it was like unfounded violence,
right?
Unnecessary stuff on the train, and not only are people afraid to ride the train now, but there are people all over the world now looking at Chicago like it's such a violent place, which is really sad.
Yeah.
Because we might have violent areas, we might have crime in some areas, but it's not like it's so rampant you can't walk down the street.
Don't go to the south and west side. It's simple enough. There's nothing interesting to see there anyway. There's no reason to go to the south side, no reason to go to the west side.
People live on the south and west sides, Buster.
Yeah, but they're doing all the violence.
That's
so
not
go down
true.
There and get beat up
Don't stereotype that. Don't say that. Not everybody. I used to ride the Red
Stereotypes start out
Line.
with kernels of truth. Yeah.
I used to ride the Red Line.
Yeah.
I did, and I rode the Green Line.
Yeah.
I did. When I was living on the west side, I rode from the beginning for me, which was at Harlem.
Yeah.
I took that into the city. Another thing, it's not, well, it's kind of expensive, but it's not really that expensive to ride the train.
Right.
Compared to like the Metro. When you get on the train, when you get on the Metro train, which I'm going to say, I've actually seen, I'm not going to say violence, but I've seen some harassment and things like that coming up on the Metro now.
Yeah.
But I think it's a different caliber people.
Right.
It's
well, people
more
can afford the
expensive,
ticket.
right? A one-way ticket from where I am,
Yeah.
if you don't buy it in advance, it's going to be $8.
Oh my God.
Yes, it's $8 to ride the train from where I stay into the city. And I know that all of the Metro trains were made so people from the suburbs can come in, to the city. But wow, we're looking at a comparison of what, $2.25 compared to $8. That's a big deal. You have I would think it would be a different caliber of people riding, on the train.
Yeah, probably.
But it still gets kind of sad. I don't understand why we don't have enough security on the train. I just don't understand it. And maybe. Even why in the world do we even need it? It shouldn't be a situation where we're afraid to ride the train because, we're afraid we're going to get our iPhones or our Galaxies snatched or our freaking
Blackberries.
Or whatever gets snatched. Well, some people might say take the Blackberries. So.
Or Atari 2600s.
Right, exactly. Or that ColecoVision, or that Speak and Spare.
I don't know if we need more cops. I mean, maybe at certain stops, especially where there's a lot more crime, than others, it's, I look at it and it's just one of those things where like when you're out in public and when you're on public transportation, just be aware of your surroundings.
I think you should. Yeah. That's a big deal. I mean, and I'm guilty of it. I'll sit there. And I think that I'm so into, either if I'm reading the paper or I'm looking at my phone, I'm playing a game, I'm so into that because I don't want to be into what's going on around
but,
here.
Ultimately, it's not like, don't hold your phone out, hold it with, holding it with one hand, things like that. I've done that before, and I usually try to sit close to the doors anyway, and I'm very cognizant of if I pull the phone out and I'm, beating you at word feud or something like that, then I'm very cognizant of holding it in such a way that if somebody were going to try to grab it, it wouldn't just come out of my hand, and basically I would have my other hand available to punch them in the nose.
So do you think the crime has a lot to do with jobs? Do you think it's just
I think it's a society thing. Yeah, jobs, poverty, education.
Yeah.
And ultimately,
a host of things.
I think a lot of people that just aren't raised to respect other people.
I agree.
But again, that's you could say that's a big reason why there's so much gun violence and gang issues and things like that.
In that case, we talked about this before. We're not respecting ourselves. Like we're not. If I have respect for myself, I'm going to respect you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's where it needs to begin. Is people need to start having respect for themselves. Just kind of sad. Something else I noticed. Do you ever see the guardian angels on your train?
No, but they're not. They don't always patrol. They usually just kind of come out occasionally.
Yeah, I don't think.
But then again, like I said, I'm on the good side. I'm on the north side. There's no crime or anything like that.
There's crime everywhere, Buster.
So
they just may not talk about
it. There's more on the west and the south side.
No, they just may not talk about it, but there's crime everywhere. It's everywhere. They just might capitalize on it because the red line and the green line comes through. Predominantly African American sides of town.
Yeah. Are you saying that there's more crime in the African American side?
I didn't say that. I said that they are making it look like it's just on that side of town and it's everywhere.
Who is the African Americans are?
The media.
I don't think so. Statistics don't lie.
There's a lot of stuff.
Well, statistics do lie, but if all the statistics say that all these crimes and things are being reported on the west and the south side, sorry, it is what it is.
Or stuff not looked into as much on the north side of town. I've seen it. What about that lady who got pushed off the train? Remember, she died? When took her cell phone or something? She was an older woman.
Yeah.
I mean, that wasn't the south side.
No.
So, just saying, I think they're really capitalizing on it because of those two lines.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to the John and Linetia Show.